Shuklambaradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadhanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Apara Sindhum Jnanadam Shantarupinam Sri Chandrasekharendra Pranamami Mudanvaham. Hindu Dharma, Part 5, the Vedas, Chapter 23, Is Sacrificial Killing Justified? Is sacrificial killing justified? A yajna or sacrifice takes shape with the chanting of the mantras, the invoking of the deity and the offering of the harvest oblation. The mantras are chanted orally and the deity is meditated upon mentally. The most important material required for a homa is the harvest offered in the sacrificial fire. In this work, the body is involved. So, altogether, in a sacrificial offering, mind, speech and body, mano, vak, kaya are brought together. Ghee, clarified butter, is an important ingredient of the oblation. While ghee by itself is offered as an oblation, it is also used to purify other sacrificial material. In fact, this is obligatory. In a number of sacrifices, the vapa, fat or marrow of animals is offered. Is the performance of a sacrifice sinful, or is it meritorious, or is it both? Madhvacharya was against the killing of any pasu for a sacrifice. In his compassion, he said that a substitute for the vapa must be made with flour and offered in the rice. Pasu does not necessarily mean a cow. In Sanskrit, any animal is called a pasu. In his Brahma Sutra, Vyasa has expounded the nature of the Atman as found expressed in the Upanishads, which constitute the Jnana Kanda of the Vedas. The actual conduct of sacrifices is dealt with in the Purva Mimamsa, which is the Karma Kanda of the Vedas. The true purpose of sacrifices is explained in the Uttara Mimamsa, that is Jnana Kanda. What is this purpose or goal? It is the cleaning of the consciousness, and such cleaning is essential to lead a man to the path of jnana. The Brahma Sutra says, Asuddhamiti chain na sabheta. The performance of sacrifices is based on scriptural authority and it is part of the quest for self-realization. So, how can it be called as an impure act? How do we determine whether or not an object or an act is impure or whether it is good or bad? We do so by judging it according to the authority of the Shastras. Vyasa goes on to state in his Brahma Sutra that animal sacrifice is not sinful since the act is permitted by the sound of the Vedas. What is pure or impure is to be known by the authority provided by the Vedas, or rather their sound called Shabda Pramana. If sacrifices were impure acts according to the Vedas, they would not have accepted them as part of the Atmic quest. Even if the sacrificial animal is made of flour, the substitute according to Madhvacharya, it is imbued with life by the chanting of the Vedic mantras. Would it not then be like killing a living animal, and would not offering it in a sacrifice can be taken as an act of violence? Thiruvalluvar says in his Thirukkural that not to kill an animal and eat it is better than performing 1,000 sacrifices in which the oblation is consigned to the fire. You should not take this to mean that the poet speaks ill of sacrifices. What is in accordance or in pursuance of Dharma must be practiced howsoever or whatsoever it be. Here, questions of violence must be disregarded. The Thirukkural says that it is better not to kill an animal than perform 1,000 sacrifices. From this statement, it is made out that Thiruvalluvar condemns sacrifices. According to Manu himself, conducting one Ashwamedha horse sacrifice is superior to performing 1,000 other sacrifices. At the same time, he declares that higher than 1,000 fire sacrifices is the fat of one tooth. If we say that one thing is better than another, the implication is that both are good. If the performance of a sacrifice were sinful, would it be claimed that one meritorious act is superior to 1,000 sinful deeds? You may state that fasting on one Shivaratri is superior to fasting on 100 Ekadasis. But would you say that the same is better than running 100 butcheries? When you rethink that this rite is better than that rite or another, it means that the comparison is among two or more meritorious observances. In the concluding passage of the Chandogya Upanishad, where ahimsa or non-violence is extolled, you find these words. Anyatra tridbhayat. It means ahimsa must be practiced except with regard to Vedic rites. Anyatra tritebhya. Considerations of violence have no place in sacrifices and the conduct of war. If the ideal of non-violence were superior to the performance of sacrifices, it would mean that sacrifices are good, but non-violence is better. The performance of 1,000 sacrifices must be spoken of highly, but the practice of non-violence is to be regarded as even higher. It is in this sense that the choral stanza concerning sacrifices is to be interpreted. We must not also forget that it occurs in the section on renunciation. What the poet wants to convey is that a sannyasin does better by abstaining from killing than a householder does by conducting 1,000 sacrifices. According to the Shastras also, a sannyasin has no right to perform sacrifices. There are several types of sacrifices. I shall speak about them later when I deal with kalpa, an anga or limb of the Vedas, and grihasthashrama, the stage of the householder. What I wish to state here is that animals are not killed in all sacrifices. There are a number of yajnas in which only ghee, ajya, is offered in the fire. In some Havishya, rice mixed with ghee is offered, and in some, the grains called charu or purodasa, a kind of baked cake. In Agnihotri, milk is poured into the fire. The Aupasana, unbroken rice grains, akshara, are used. And in Samithandana, the sticks of the pashala, flame of the forest. In sacrifices, in which the vapa of animals is offered, only a tiny bit of the remains of the burnt offering is partaken, and of course in the form of prasada. One is enjoined to perform 21 sacrifices. These are three types: Paka Yajna, Havir Yajna, and Soma Yajna. In each category, there are 7 subdivisions. In all the 7 Paka Yajnas, as well as in the first 5 Havir Yajnas, there is no animal sacrifice. It is only from the 6th Havir Yajna onwards, it is called Nirdha Pashubandha, that animals are sacrificed. Brahmins sacrificed herds and herds of animals and gorged themselves on their meat. The Buddha saved such herds when they were being taken to the sacrificial altar. We often read such accounts in books. To tell the truth, there is no sacrifice in which a large number of animals are killed. For Vajipeya, which is the highest type of yajna performed by Brahmins, only 23 animals are mentioned. For Ashwamedha, horse sacrifice, the biggest of the sacrifices conducted by imperial rulers, 100 animals are mentioned. It is totally false to state that Brahmins perform sacrifices only to satisfy their appetite for meat and that the talk of pleasing the deities was only a pretext. There are rules regarding the meat to be carved out from the sacrificed animal, the part of the body from which it is to be taken, and the quantity each ritvik can partake of as prasada. Idavattarana. It is not more than the size of a pigeon pea, and it is to be swallowed without anything added to taste. There may be various reasons for you to attack the system of sacrifices, but it would be preposterous to do so on the score that Brahmins practiced deception by making them a pretext to eat meat. Nowadays, a large number of animals are slaughtered in the laboratories as genuine pigs. Animal sacrifices must be regarded as a little hurt caused in the cause of a great ideal, the welfare of mankind. As a matter of fact, there is no hurt caused since the animal sacrifice attains to an elevated state. There is another falsehood spread these days, that Brahmins performed the Soma Yagas only as a pretext to drink Soma Rasa, the essence of the Soma plant. Those who propagate this lie add that drinking Soma Rasa is akin to imbibing liquor or wine. As a matter of fact, Soma Rasa is not an intoxicating drink. There is a reference in the Vedas to Indra killing his foe when he was intoxicated with Soma Rasa. People who spread the above falsehood have recourse to Arthavada and base their previous views on this passage. The principle on which the psychology of deities is based is superior to that of humans. That apart, to say that the priest drinks bottles after bottle of Somarasa or pot after pot is to betray gross ignorance of the Vedic Dharma. The Soma plant is pounded and crushed in a small mortar called graha. There are rules with regard to the quantity of essence to be offered to the gods. The small portion that remains after the oblation has been made Putashesha, which is drunk drop by drop, does not add up to more than an ounce. No one has been knocked out by such drinking. They say that Somarasa is not very palatable. The preposterous suggestion is made that Somarasa was the coffee of those times. There are Vedic mantras which speak about the joy aroused by drinking it. This has been misinterpreted. While coffee is injurious to the mind, Somarasa cleanses it. It is absurd to equate the two. The Soma plant was available in plenty in ancient times. Now it is becoming more and more scarce. This indeed is keeping with the decline of Vedic Dharma. In recent years, the Raja of Kelingor made it a point to supply the Soma plant for the Soma sacrifice wherever it is held. Hari Om Tat Sat.